development course. In mobile application development course, we will learn how we can develop the application for the mobile devices. First, you have to know what is the mobile devices. Mobile devices are any devices that are portable and have some operating system in it. The purpose of the operating system is to allow your mobile devices that they can install other applications on your device. So the installation capability is introduced using the mobile OS. There are so many OS for the mobile devices that are famous nowadays, that can be Android, iOS, and other like Symbian, Windows. And because the operating system differs, so the native application or platform based application uh, for that operating system also differs. So in this tutorial we will talk about specifically about the Android application development, that the application that are supportable on Android devices, that you can install on Android devices. So for before start developing your Android application, you must know what are the development requirements that you must have to start developing your application. First of all, you must have a system with a good specification, because it requires high memory processes. So minimum 2 GB RAM is recommended, so that you can easily develop your application. And your system may have Microsoft Windows 10 or later, up to 2003, or Mac 10.8.5 or up to 10.9. And your application can be developed on GNOME and KDE desktop as well. So you must have a system. And then the software tools, that are the important part of the installation. When you have a system, you must install these packages before start developing your application. One is Java SDK, Java JDK, and Java Runtime Environment, that is also called the GRE in short. Now the latest version, as I have the Windows 10, have the support for the Java JDK and GRE. And if you are using the previous Windows like Windows 7 or other Windows that do not have the support for the Java, so you must install the JDK first, because it is the prerequisite of the Android Studio. Search for the JDK and it will lead you to the Oracle website. Go to the Oracle website and download the JDK package. It is a simple exe file. You just have to click next, and it will install on your platform. After the JDK installation, you can select any package based on your, for example, I have Windows x64 installer. Click on the JDK and it will start downloading. As I don't need this, so I will not download and install it. After that, when you install the JDK, that is basically Java Development Kit, a Java runtime environment that supports the development of the Java based application, and provide the virtual environment or runtime environment for the Java application. As you all know, we will develop the application for the Android in Java, so we must need this JDK. Then after JDK and JRE basically integrated in the JDK package. When you install the JDK, your JRE package will also be installed. Then the most important tool, that is Android Studio. Search for the Android Studio. It will lead you to the Android Studio website. Search Android Studio, free download. Sorry, you don't have to write this free because it's already free. Go to the developers.android.com and you can download your Android Studio. The best thing about this website, it will automatically determine your current OS, like my current OS is Windows 64-bit, and I will download this exe from here and start installing my application. But if you are using this desktop machine is just only for downloading, and you are going to install it on another machine with another specification, you must scroll down to find out the actual version of the machine in which you are going to start developing your project. If you are using the 32-bit, or you are using the Linux or Mac, you can download specified based on your platform. So it's about downloading the setup file. It basically simply exe file, like I discussed in your lab, that it is simply exe file. You just have to click next, and it will give you install path and start installing. After that, when you install your Android Studio, it will ask you, it will load some add-ons. That is basically the Android SDK. So when you open after that, after the installation of Android Studio, it will ask you to configure or set up some wizard. Click on next. Always select the standard, that is because you don't know what packages you need or what are not, because you are not the professional but you are the beginner. Then select the theme. Light is always recommended, but if you are comfortable in dark theme, you can select the black theme as well. So after that, when you click on next, you may have seen this screen. This is setup type, that you have selected standard, then the SDK folder. So it basically configure your SDK folder, that is C users. Mine is this. Wherever you have space, you can select that location, and then JDK location is given here. So E Android Studio, Android GRE, and our total size 2.63 MB, and SDK components to download is 2.63 MB. 2.63 MB. This is basically Intel x86 emulator. So Android SDK and AVD. Okay, AVD it's mean Intel x86 emulator. This is also required to download. After that, it start downloading the package of Android SDK and start placing on the location that you have selected before. And when this downloading complete, you can have a screen that how you can create your project. So for the first time, it will guide you how you can create your project, but if you have already installed it, you can create project as well. So it's about the software tools, that is JDK, Android Studio, Android SDK, and Android Virtual Device Emulator, that is downloaded when you start in Android Studio. So Android Studio basically makes life easy. Android Studio basically launched on May 16, 2013. Before that, Eclipse and other tools are manually integrated to start developing your application. I actually started developing my application in Eclipse, but now as they have introduced Android Studio and they start supporting the Eclipse, so we will learn the development of our application in Android Studio. So in May 16, 2013, the launched Android Studio is basically the beta version. After the suggestions of the developers, the bugs are improved, and the most stable version actually introduced in December 2014, that is called the version 1.0. And on that version, developers start developing their applications. So I already guided you how you can install. You just have to visit some website, download some packages, and install it. This is not as easy as written here, but all the screenshots and help is all provided to you. But still, if you have any query, you can comment here, or you can send me a WhatsApp message, so I will try to resolve that virtually. Then comes when you set all the parameters, fulfill all the requirements of the Android Studio. Then here comes the how to create an Android package, project. So I have already created a project, but let's start creating a new project so that you may know how you can create your project. Go to file in the upper right corner, click new, and then the new project. Sorry for the delay. So this happened during the Android development, so don't worry. When you click on the new project, a new screen appears that asks you about selecting the template. Select the empty activity, because as you are the beginner, you must start from the scratch before adding any other segment. Here you can start empty activity, click on next, and then name of the application. I must recommend don't add spaces in your application name. Just write it without spaces. For example, I will write my Android application. So this is the name of the project that I am going to create. Now you have noticed that there is a package name that is already created, and this package name is basically a unique name that identifies your application on Google Play Store, where you have to publish your application and your device. I have placed some text about the package name on my slide as well, so you can have an idea. Package name, every Android app has a unique application ID that look like a Java package name, such as com.example.myapp. Okay, so this is basically the package name. This ID uniquely identifies your app on your device and Google Play. The purpose of the package name is basically giving a unique ID to your application, so your application identifier is different from other application. This identifier will help you to locate your application on any device or on Google Play Store. The naming convention is same as the Java package, but there is some restriction that you must have at least two segments, like com.example is mandatory. It can be your name dot android dot something else, but two segments are mandatory. Each segment must start with a letter, so there must be a starting letter. For example, you cannot start from 1, you just have to start from ABC or any letter, so that this is basically the naming convention. And all character must be alphanumeric or underscore. No special character is allowed as in the variable name. So this is basically the convention of the package name, but Android helps us to create it automatically, but you must choose some package name that must be unique. And then the location where your application project is basically placed, and the language, as we have discussed, there are two languages, that is Kotlin and Java, but we will start from the Java. And then the minimum SDK. So this is basically, before selecting the minimum SDK, you must know what is API and what is versioning and what is code name. So first of all, you must know application programming interface. You may all have idea, as you are from the computer science background and software engineering background. You must know that what is API basically communication, a connection between two applications. So if we define API is basically a set of functions and procedures allowing the creation of an application that access the features or data of an operating system, application, or other service. So helps you API is basically a set of procedures or functions that helps you to to communicate with application or operating system or service, anything, the any three of them um, can be supportable by the API. For example, Windows API will help you to extract the window information, or the API for Telenor will help you to send the messages. So every API is basically the set of functions that helps you to communicate with other application or operating system or other service. So service is the example of the service is basically the SMS service. The example of the application can be any banking application, HPL or anything else. And example of the operating system can be Windows, Linux or anything else. So API basically helps to communicate. The Android platform provides a framework API that applications can use to interact with the underlying network. So what is the purpose of the Android API? Android API will help you to communicate with the Android system. This API consists of core packages and classes for the Android. The XML element, as you all know that we have to write our backend in XML, and XML element for the UI, and XML element for the manifest file as well, and set of intents and set of permissions also. So we will discuss in the course later that what all are these, but basically all these are written in your API, that what basically is in Android. You just have to communicate through the API level. API is basically the SDK, software development kit, that will help you to communicate with the Android underlying system. Hopefully it will be clear from now onward. Now the question comes that what is API level and what is Android version. As we are creating a project, it will ask you to select the minimum SDK, that is API level. This integer is basically the level API 19, and 4.4 is basically the version, that is the Android version, and KitKat is the code name for that version, or for that API level or version. This is basically the combination of both. So let's discuss that what is basically the difference between the version and the API level. So API level is basically tells about the revision, that how many revisions Android systems have. Android from its launch have 30 revisions, total 30 revision, that it is updated 30 times. And the version is updated based on the feature. If the minor features occur changes, the version is updated. For example, the previous version from 8.1.0 is 8.0.0 and API level 26, and the updated version is 8.1.0 because a minor change occurred, but the API level although updated because new classes and new functions is introduced. So API level 27, and after that the major change occurs, so it could turn into 9, and the API level is updated. So the difference between version and API level is basically this is the number, this is the integer value, and this is basically the point value. This tells about the feature change, and this tells about the revision number. So in text this is also mentioned. Let's just read it. Android version. Android keeps on updating Android by adding new features. So every new version of Android have a version number known as Android version. So whenever you update a whenever you update your Android system, it basically revises their revision based version or based on the features introduced. But the API level is an integer value that uniquely identify the framework API version revision offered by a version of the Android platform. That basically API predict the revision of the Android system. So a device running Android with version X will usually support application written for API X and below. Okay, this is very interesting that if you select the API level 8, it will support by the API level 9, 10, 11 and further. But if you select, for example, I select in this project the maximum API level, that is 30. So what it do, it will not support the 30, it will support only the 30 API level, not 29, not 28, not 27. So we will select the minimum SDK as the most stable version, so that most of the devices, for example the devices with the KitKat operating system, devices with Marshmallow operating system, devices with Oreo operating system, all are supportable by the KitKat. But if you select the higher version, for example I will select the Marshmallow, then it will not, it may not, I cannot say it will not, it may not support the API 19 because it have the more advanced version. So select the minimal SDK API 19 and it will support almost 98% of the devices. That is good enough. You can select the legacy support library if you need it. If you don't need it, you uncheck it and click on finish. It will basically create your application project and you can start developing your application. This is the start of the application. In the next tutorial we will discuss what basically this Android Studio interface is, what are these components, and how we can use these components effectively. Thank you so much.